You've been sitting around in the country that my ancestors built for about 20 years. Your parents came over as immigrants, brought you over. You made millions, according to your resume, off of this country, and you have absolutely not been involved in civics. One, not voting, and two, let me just ask, because I know you mentioned earlier you don't want to sit around at the debate and talk about accomplishments. Let's make the accomplishments pretty simple. In high school, were you ever a class president or take any leadership role? Because your opponent did, Chris Christie. He was the class president. So have you ever taken any leadership at all on anything? Or just
can I just correct a couple factual things? I wasn't sitting around. I've developed medicines, 5 of which are FDA-approved products today, one of which is a life-saving therapy in kids, 20 of whom die by the age of 3 if they're not treated, 70% of whom now live lives of a normal duration. Another one for prostate cancer. So I don't apologize for making contributions, but...
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Real Talk Corner. I am your host, Ariana Quantum Healer, the Quantum Healer, with my co-host, Sabrina Williams, in the building. We're back. I know we took a couple days off, y'all. Don't kill us. You know, it is what it is. But tonight we are going to jump in it. It's that time. It's election time. So, we talk about it. Don't talk about it, be about it, get involved. And so we're definitely going to be covering a lot of the presidential candidates, what they're about, especially if I find and we're watching clips and the arguments and all of that good stuff so that you guys can get to know them more. I am going to cover, we got to do one on, I think her name is Miriam Williamson. And I think she's one of the women. She's not the woman. I don't think she's Republican. Honestly, I got to look because she actually has some really good points. And she was holding herself up in this one show meeting that I saw, and they were just like coming at her, but she was holding her own. And I was like, all right, she holding her own. So she might get my vote. I don't know. We'll see. So I definitely feel like we should cover this because it's important. It's coming up, the 2024 elections. You need to get to know your people that are running for president, you guys. If you don't already, if you have somebody that you're already looking at, drop a comment. I don't want to hear that Trump shit just yet, okay? If you have not done your research, I could see 6 months. If you still love Trump, then good, do whatever. But if you just still voting for Trump because you want to vote for Trump, I would say take a look at some of the other candidates. And we're going to talk about it and show you guys also just so you could get like a feel. But right now we're going to get into on the Breakfast Club. La, 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 la. Why can't I say that today? Like, what the hell? Breakfast Club. They did an interview with Vivek Ramaswamy is his name. He's an American entrepreneur. He was actually born here in America. And he is a candidate. He's from the Republican Party. He's 37, so he's pretty young. And, most of our presidents are normally way older than 37. I don't mind having a young president because you see Biden, he did his terms as vice president and he got into the presidential and now he done lost his damn mind and got senile and shit.
Basically.
So I don't care about someone being fucking old as shit, old as dirt to run the country. Like, I don't think your age really just says that you're more wise, So I wouldn't mind a younger candidate. And so he was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. I believe he also grew up there. Graduated from Harvard and Yale Law School. He's an entrepreneur. He runs businesses. It's crazy because I didn't even know that who knows? Who really researches the people who create drugs? Because I don't fucking research anyone. So he's actually created some medications that help children, life-saving medications. So, he's done some shit for the world, Did he get rich off of it? Yes, but who fucking wouldn't? So we're gonna watch his interview and see how that goes, and we'll comment on it because, like I said before, the clips that I saw on it weren't really nice, y'all. They weren't really nice. So you have anyone yet that you're looking at that might be your who you're voting for this year or this round? Yeah.
No, not at all.
I haven't really you guys picked somebody just yet. So
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Charlemagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. Teslin Figaro is with us this morning.
I can't wait to see you attempt this name.
And we got a special guest in the building, Vivek Ramaswamy. Did I say it right?
That's actually pretty good. It's better than most hosts. Yeah, it's like Ramaswamy, like CD-ROM, but yeah.
What I said, Ramaswamy.
Yeah, you got it.
Ramaswamy. Well, good morning.
Good to see you guys.
How you feeling?
You too.
Feeling good, guys.
You're running for president.
I am.
Running for president. You're actually polling third behind Trump and DeSantis right now. The latest Fox poll shows you
a distant third.
A distant third.
Distant third, yes.
Now on the polls from Biden and Trump, I mean, honestly, anybody, you guys, I know y'all love Trump and I know y'all love Biden, but can we just start over?
Right.
Can we just start off fresh and just let's pick somebody else and give it a go versus going backwards? I don't know. I think we should start fresh, but that's just me.
About to say the third from second is huge, but what do you think you need to do to close that gap?
I mean, most people in this country do not know who I am. So against that backdrop, the fact that I'm ahead of a vice president and a bunch of U.S. senators and a former U.S. ambassador and governors is honestly ahead of where I expect it to be right now. Our goal was to be in third by the end of the year. And then you have the Iowa caucus, and then you have the New Hampshire primary. And the fact that you go those early states in order makes it possible for an outsider like me to actually do this because we spend a lot of time getting to know people in those states. And so it's going to be a steady process. The debates, I think, are pretty key. They start in August. I'm qualified for the debate stage already. I tend to like settings where we're debating. So hopefully that goes well. And we'll see where this takes us.
Does anybody who's not a white male really stand a chance of being a Republican?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. I think that there's this.
They don't seem like they're open to that kind of diversity.
I'll be honest with you. I travel the country. I have not really experienced meaningful racism from grassroots conservative audiences for the last, several years that I've been since I stepped down from my business career. That was a different world I was in. But for my book tours and everything else, and then now for this campaign, traveling the country, it's funny. That's the impression that you get from the media, meeting people from Iowa, Ohio, Michigan, New Hampshire. I don't see that at all. In fact, I just see a hunger for substance, ideas, what's actually going to make the country better. I actually am very encouraged by that. And I think that more people should. I mean, I used to live here in New York as well. And I'm not saying this about you guys, but I remember for me, you get trapped in a bubble. When we get out of that bubble,
I'm going to South Carolina.
Well, perfect. Well, South Carolina. When did you grow up there?
My whole life. I didn't move to New York till 2006. So I understand.
2006. Yeah, but I actually think a lot of what I'm saying is specific to. I think the country is in a different place today, even than it was in the 90s and 2000s. I grew up in Southwest Ohio in the 1990s. Very different environment than it is today. But anyway, I mean it as a good note. I don't think that there's some sort of racist obstacle in the mind of Republican primary voters. Actually, if you look at the Republican field, even some of those other people on that poll you were mentioning, I mean, Tim Scott, Nikki Haley, go down the list. I mean, there's even others as well. Larry Elder, black man's running. I mean, I think
there's actually a lot of Black Republicans that I think people don't realize. Like when you say Republican, people just think like, oh, white, racist, And I used to think the same way, you guys. I used to think the same way. I had this mindset of what the Republican looked like. And Republican doesn't matter what their skin color, their idealism. And I'm not going to say I agree with everything that Republicans say, but it's more about their money. It's about saving them money. It's not about spending money. And if you notice that when you look at the Democrats, which is, of course, the opposition, is more about spending money on, sometimes it's like bullshit. You're like, what are y'all doing? So on a lot of it, I have to agree with the Republicans. Like, look, can we save some of this money instead of spending it on a bunch of this bullshit? But that idea that it's just full of bunch of racists, and it's like I've seen a lot of Black Republicans as I've been watching. You know, a lot of the senators, a lot of the House seats and stuff. There's a lot of them that are in there that are Republican that are not Democrat. Even like gay Republicans, I have come across a bunch of gay Republicans that you wouldn't even think are in those seats. But I think that comes with the assumption of if you're Republican, you're racist, you're biased, you're, you know, you're this, that, and the third. And it's just like, no, you guys get out of the assumptions. Like, get to know these people, because some of them are actually, they seem pretty
they
cool.
make some good points. I think a lot of the times, like with the Republican and Democrat, people, you know, assume, like you said, with the Republicans that, okay, they're not for quote unquote for us. But honestly, Democrats do a lot of things that handicap us as a community. And, you know, people see it as, okay, give me, supposedly free money, whatever, however it is, when it comes to government assistance and things like that. But in the long run, those things do handicap our community. Our community gets lazy, you know, starts to depend on, and these are conversations people don't like to have, and they don't like to hear. So whenever a Republican brings it up and say things like this, it's like, oh, they're racist or this, that, and the third. But it has nothing to do with race, you know, because again, like I said, even with, you know, Republicans, they do be having some points, you know. Of course, I don't agree with everything they say because, you know, again, like you said, when it comes to money, they're in a whole different bracket. So they're coming with, you know, like you said, trying to save their money, trying to save their millions. These are a whole totally different bracket they're in. So, you know, they're coming from that type of place. But in that same sense, when they do talk about the, you know, like the handouts and the government assistance and these programs and this, that, and the third, I mean, we all know they are there not for people to be on for forever. Like, for instance, like for Section 8, you know, Section 8 is a great program, but it's not for you to be on for 40 years. You know, it's, you know, it's there for you to be able to, you know, afford some housing and be able to save money to probably buy a home. You know, that's what it's for. It's not for you to pay $20 in rent for the next 40 years.
And you know, the people that, because I know people that would be like, oh, my rent is only like $30. And it's like, okay, well, you know, about jobs and stuff. Oh, I can't go work because then my rent's going to go up. And it's like, wait a minute. This was temporary to help you get on your feet, not forever.
That
you know,
is
and
so
I had
true.
Section 8 when I was younger, but I only was on it for about a year. I only was on it. I could have stayed up to 5 years on it, on the program, because they had a cap when I had applied, but I didn't stay on there. I was only on there about a year, maybe 2 years. I want to say maybe 2 years, but
oh yeah, I've done heard it. I remember when I worked at Amazon, and a lot of the girls during orientation, when they said what, you know, the amount was going to be an hour, some people didn't come back because it would have affected their Section 8 to where, you know, it would no longer be $20 or $50, whatever the case was. But yeah, like during orientation, some girls I met and they're like, oh, I'm not coming back. I can't because I'm not trying to lose, you know what I mean, my Section 8. And again, like I said, that's not the point. The point is, yeah, your rent is $30. So then you can be able to save some money to buy a house and, you know, in the future, not for you to have rent for $20 for the next 40 years. And then now they're like handing it down to generation. And it's like, so when they talk about that type of stuff, I'm for it. Like, I think that handicaps our community, that makes a lot of our community lazy and don't go out there. I've done even heard people turn down jobs because of that. Oh, I don't want to get this position because then I'm going to be making 40, 50, 60,000 and I'm not going to qualify to be on Section 8. So they won't even take the promotion. And it's like, what? Like, you're going to actually shortchange yourself in a career
Right.
because of. So certain things I do agree with the Republican Party about, and of course some things I don't, that I cannot relate to. Like I said, when it comes to, how they feel about taxing their millions and things like that. I cannot relate to that because I'm not in that bracket.
Of
But
course. They big balling. They in a
right.
whole other lane with them
And they
zeros.
trying to save they shit. They not trying to spend that shit on dumb shit. They trying to stay millionaires. They don't want to just be a millionaire for a couple of years and then
Right.
that's it. No, they like that lifestyle. They trying to keep that lifestyle.
Right. But that's what people don't realize is that's how the rich stay richer. They're using other
Exactly.
people's money to be rich and stay rich while they save theirs and use it on other shit. Where when you look
Exactly.
at the poor on the other side, the poor people are just spending their money. They're just spending it. They ain't saving it. They're not investing it. You're just in the loop of poor. And then second you
Mm-hmm.
get some money, you fuck it off. And yeah, never understood that when people are like they didn't want their checks to get cut. I'm like, I just couldn't be it. Like me, I was like, I did get county assistance. I did get food stamps in little moments, in these little spurt moments. And then I would go back to
And
work.
that's what it's for.
Yeah,
That is for those times when you do lose your job, when
right,
you are on, getting unemployment,
right,
when you do have a child and you're
right,
maybe only working 20 hours. Yes, you
right,
do need that extra food stamps to cover some food. Those are what it's for, but not to be consistently on it for 10, 20 years,
right,
not stopping. It's for that. It's for that when your back is against the wall, you know what I mean?
right.
But, working 5, 6, 7, 10 years without having any assistance. And then, because life happens. I mean, you can be a CEO of a company and today or
Yeah,
tomorrow they decide to give you that let go letter. And now you're
yeah,
like, oh, what the fuck do I do?
right,
And you may have to turn to government assistance, but that's what that's for. That's
right,
not to be on for 10, 20, 30, 40 years where you are now, handing it down to another generation. Your
right.
grandbabies got your Section 8. Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
3 generations Section 8. I think that's the problem. I'm sorry.
Yes, I do
That's
too.
that's not even just because you didn't even use it to get ahead. You guys are still in the projects with that Section 8 because we all know Section 8 isn't covering a house in the Hamptons. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
you're not getting a nice plush house with Section 8. Now I know there are some states that you probably could get a decent house on Section 8. Really depends on the owners, but even with that, it's a stepping stone. I don't think you should ever utilize that as your forever. I'm a forever
Exactly.
be on this. I'm gonna
Exactly.
forever because you just stay in a very complacent place and you don't push to move forward. So
Hmm.
I think just people have to really look at it and say what type of person you are and be honest with yourself because you could sit here
Exactly.
and talk shit about Republicans, but they actually, a lot of them put in work for that money. So can't
And a
really
lot
get
of the
mad.
things, they say make sense. But again, like you said, our community don't want to hear that. Like people really, the truth hurts, and a lot of the times they don't, and
Mhm.
that's where there goes the race, this and the this, that, and the third.
Right,
And it's not even about race. It's about, I mean, it's the community. I mean, there's
right,
all type of races in those communities, in our communities. You know what I mean? In those
right.
communities. But you have to, like you said, you have to be honest with yourself and say to yourself, because if your rent is $50 and your car note is $600, yeah, I think that's a problem. Your priority is a little too, you know what I mean? You got a Benz, but you on Section 8 and your
Right.
rent is $50, but your car note is 500.
Right. That part. And the car being somebody mama name. Your name.
Parking it in front of your Section 8 apartment, that's $50. Yeah, I mean, just as a person, you should feel some sort of way. But, I guess if they like it, I love it.
We'll see. We'll see who ends up succeeding. But whoever it is, I don't think it's going to be a racial bias that holds me back.
Why should people vote for you?
Yeah, so I'm somebody who is coming in as an outsider to the system. And I think in the White House, when it comes to the White House, if we really want to reform a lot of the corruption in government, it is going to take an outsider to get that job done. I'm 37. I'm the first millennial ever to run for president as a Republican. And I think I have a view on our generation of what's going on in the country, where we are all so hungry for a cause, for purpose and meaning and identity. But the things that used to give us that sense of purpose, faith, patriotism, family, hard work, these things are out. And that's why we latch on to fill in the blank. I mean, in conservative circles, a lot of us will point to wokeism, gender ideology, the climate cult, COVIDism. But you could fill in the blank with depression, anxiety, drug use, suicide. I think these are symptoms of a deeper hunger for purpose and meaning in our country. And so in some ways, I'm running as a member of my generation to say that we can fill that void with the things that actually give us real purpose. Revive family in America. That's actually a big part of my platform. It's what allowed me to achieve success. My parents gave me a great family foundation. I didn't grow up in money. We're trying to give that to my two kids as well. I want that to be enjoyed by Americans across the country. Belief in the country, national pride. Less than 16% of Gen Z even says they're proud to be an American. I'm not making this one up. This is about a month ago. There was a good survey. 60% of young Americans said that they would sooner give up their right to vote than to give up access to TikTok or other social media. That's a problem. So I think we have a crisis of national pride.
Whose fault is that, though? That's America's fault. That's the system's fault for constantly failing the people.
Well, you know, I see it. I see it less about. We can allocate the blame. We can talk about allocating the blame. I think there's blame to go around. I think it's up to all of us to take a long, hard look in the mirror and ask ourselves, what is that vacuum in our heart? It's an old saying that goes, if there's a hole the size of God in your heart and God does not fill it, something else will instead. I think the same applies for
that right there. Let's go into the blame game. Does it really matter how the fuck we got here?
Exactly.
We're here. And what he's saying is true. You ask most young people, matter of fact, most people our age aren't fucking proud to be American. So it doesn't matter how we got here. How the fuck are we going to fix this? Because I think that's the problem when we sit in this shit about, oh, fuck America, fuck this, but we live here. So what the fuck are we going to do about it? How are we going to change this shit? It's easy to blame, oh, the white person did this, the black person did that, the Spanish person did this, the fucking colonizer came here fucking, however many years ago. How is that helping us now in 2023, though?
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I totally agree, because it's like being in a relationship. Okay, you had a relationship, whether it was abusive, cheating, whatever. Okay, been there, done that. Now, what are you going to do moving forward? We can't talk about how we got here, what we didn't do, how it started, why you cheated, or why you hit me, or why I hit you. Now is what am I going to do moving forward? And like you said, having the conversation of how we got here ain't going to get us nowhere. Let's talk about how we going to get ourselves up out of here and change this so we don't keep going deeper and deeper, because that's what's happening. This started years and years ago. It just kept on going over and over and over, like just being added. And now we're just real deep into some shit right now. You know what I mean? But it has to start somewhere where we can move forward and stop talking about how we got here and who's the blame of how we got here.
Right. And you see that a lot. It's always that who did what, where, and when. And it's like, let's get out of the blame. Let's go into solutions. What is the solution of what we're going to do moving forward? It's to me, it's pointless to sit and say where it came from. At me, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. We just need to fix this shit. Because I look at it like, this is not the world I want my grandsons to grow up in. This is not the world I want their kids, my great grandkids, to fucking grow up in. This is not the world that I want them to share. So what are we going to do to fix it? Yeah, we all could be like, oh, let's move, let's leave the country, but we're here, and people have been leaving. Like, the crazy part about it is you had slews of people leaving, and then 2020 came, and a lot more people after that 2020 were leaving the country. As soon as borders opened, as soon as people could get out, people start doing that, whatever it is, remote working. And so they were remote working from out of this fucking country. And so that's why our country has gone down. It's because our perks, we don't really have a lot of perks to stay here. When you go to other countries, you have a lot more perks. They got free healthcare in a lot of other countries. They have free college, free tuition in a lot of other countries. Now, I'm not going to say every country is, but even some of the stricter ones have beautiful schools. If you look at Asian culture schools, those kids learn economics. They learn how to cook. They learn how to clean. They ain't got no janitors. We no fucking janitors in the Asian schools. Like the kids clean up.
Yes.
The kids cook. The kids do. There's a lot of shit. Ain't no phones in those schools in Asia. They can't carry their cell phones in class.
They barely watch TV. They have study time. No TV. Maybe like an hour of TV. Like they at home they doing this. It doesn't stop just when at school. After school, this is how their home is ran.
Right. And it's crazy because my daughter was showing me a lot of stuff in Japan. And even in Japan, little kids walk alone without their parents and they wear a certain like jacket or something. And all of the other fucking natives, Japanese people watch those children. You know, it's like that. Okay, here goes a child wearing their vest. Everybody is watching this child. So there's no there. It's actually one of the safest fucking countries. And they have less pollution and less litter and all of that. They don't have homelessness. They have a little bit of homelessness, but it's actually frowned upon. So you actually, if you become homeless or you allow yourself to be that way, they actually look at it as a disgrace to their family. So you don't really have homelessness or any of that because they have a strong structure and pride. And what he's talking about is that family sense. When you have a strong family sense, you're not going to do shit to bring that disgrace on your family. And I do think we're missing that because now people just do whatever the fuck they want. They don't give a fuck.
Yes, they have no pride. I mean, you see it. I see it. You see it on TikTok. It's just ridiculous on TikTok. I mean, from men to women, to older women, to younger women, to the point where I seen the other day, a girl had her child on the video asking for money, saying they needed to eat, they needed this. It's no pride anymore. Like no one is trying to do what they have to do. Now, don't get me wrong. You can try, and if there's nothing you can do, then you have to, a closed mouth ain't going to get fed. We know that. But in that same sense, do what you have to do. And if that's the last result, then you got to do. You got to feed your kids. You got to feed yourself. But that shouldn't be the goal. That's the first thing. They don't even try. And I've seen this. I've even made comments on videos where, like, you guys don't have assistance in your state. And it's like, you rather not go wait online at your assistance place, but it's okay for you to do a TikTok video asking for money
and
to pay a bill, get to work.
I really doubt that someone hasn't gone and got that county because normally people are very going to go get that money. But I think a lot of people do those videos to get more money on top of it. And that's another thing. There was a time where people were more community based. So if someone was having a hard time, their community had their back. You had people who stepped in, you had people house you could go to and eat, and then go back home and shit. So
back in the days, they would actually have rent parties, and because my mom used to tell me stuff like that, they would have rent parties and, utility bit where everybody brought some food and everybody danced and ate, but somebody left an envelope with some money if somebody was back with their rent and stuff. But it's not like that now.
No, people have lost that. And I think he has a good point on that, is bringing that sense of family back, that sense of belonging, that sense of pride, because we've lost it in so many cultures. Now everybody's out for themselves and everybody is just ready to fuck over the next person, scam the next person. And what's going to be left at the end of this? Like, what's really going to be left for anybody? So he has some points. I don't know. He got some points, y'all.
Belief in a nation as well. So I think what's going on is we're human beings. What makes us different from animals is that we can believe. We need to believe in something bigger than ourselves. And when we lose God and family and country, we start believing in new false gods instead. That's what's going on in the country. And so I don't know that it's so much a question of fault, but more a question of how do we actually revive our sense of self-confidence
it's
and
definitely
pride.
a question of fault. I can absolutely blame white supremacy. 100.
Really?
Yeah.
See, say more, and then I'll respond to that.
I mean, just look at the history of the country. Like, it's really just that simple for me. The country has never fulfilled its promises of freedom, liberty, and justice for all. It's always been freedom, liberty, and justice for some. And usually that some is white people.
So here's what I would say in response to that. That is obviously true that the nation has fallen short of our promise since our founding. But walk through some obvious facts about America. We're not founded on an ethnicity or a monarch or a food or even a religion. We're founded on a set of ideals that brought a group of people together in 1776, and we live by those ideals. At least we aspire to those ideals today. A nation that aspires to ideals that's not made up of gods, but made up of human beings will always fall short of those ideals. So I think our worst hypocrisies as a country, and we have many of them, our worst hypocrisies are our best evidence that we have ideals at all. You take a look at other countries. Nobody ever calls the Chinese Communist Party a hypocrite, or China a hypocrite, or Iran a hypocrite. Why is that? Because to be a hypocrite, you at least had to have ideals in the first place.
But a lot of
and so we're imperfect, but we are about the pursuit of a more perfect union, the pursuit of happiness. America's about the pursuit. And so I think that trashing ourselves, I think we are actually.
I say that is because, we never were included in those ideals originally.
Originally, yeah. But never originally are two different things. Originally, that's true. Over 250 years of progress, if you had somebody who was in 1870 looking at the world we live in today, if you had somebody in 1960 who was looking at the world we live in today as it relates to race in America, we would be darn close to what they would have thought of as the promised land. So I think we have to recognize that America is about that pursuit. We're a lot further along than we were 250 years ago. And here's the other thing, too. We got to set our expectations. We will always fall short of our ideals. By definition, if there are human beings and not gods living in a nation that aspires to ideals, we are fallen. Man is fallen. That's what makes us who we are. But what also makes us different from animals is that we have ideals. So America's founded on our humanity, that we can believe and aspire to something that we will still fall short of. That's what makes this country beautiful. And that's why that's why I'm in this. You ask me, why am I in this? I care about reviving pride in that nation, because if
crazy. I never thought of it that way. When you look at the older countries and nations, like how they have those gods, deities that are a big part of their culture. And look at the United States, it's not founded in that way. Like
at all.
Yeah, they came with the Bible and church and all that, but it wasn't founded based on that. It was founded on these people, these men, and what they felt it was supposed to be. So that's crazy, because I never really thought of it in that way of why, we've had so many issues, because how do you really have faith in men?
And it's funny because even when you was talking about, the Asian community in China, they Buddha and they stuff, they do have people that they look up to.
Right.
Wait, you know what I mean? So when it does make sense when you start thinking of certain countries and you're like,
Right. Okay.
we get into the habit of just bashing that country. What are we bashing? We're bashing the last best hope that man has for aspiring to those ideals. Tell me who else has done better. I'll wait.
I don't think I'm bashing the country. I think I'm bashing the system.
Okay.
I want to change. I want to change the system.
Well, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm with you on changing the system. It's what brings me into this.
And what's your thoughts on some of the people that you're running against, Donald Trump and DeSantis? What are your thoughts on them and their leadership and what they've done for the country so far?
I think everybody's made their respective contributions. I respect some things about what each of them have done. I think the Republican Party, I tell this to conservative audiences all the time, obsesses over the question of the who. Ronna McDaniel, she was the chair of the Republican Party versus somebody else, or Kevin McCarthy or somebody else, or Donald Trump or somebody else. This is superficial discussion versus actually just taking a step back. And the Republican Party does not do this enough. What do we stand for? And why do we stand for it? Actually, a lot of my criticisms are also directed at the fact that we define ourselves. When I say we, I'm running as a Republican, but as a party in opposition to something. All right, that's what Joe Biden did. That's what the radical left does. And race, gender, sexuality, climate. I'm opposed to a lot of these ideologies of identity, but the right falls into the trap of just saying we're not those things. And then we'll fight about which biographies win. Oh, I'm actually a bigger and more accomplished person than you, and I'm going to sling mud at you, versus asking the question of what do we actually stand for? For me, it's about individual, family, nation, God. You can agree or disagree, but at least that's a vision that's different from a vision of identity around race and gender and sexuality and climate. And so that's a long way of saying, I guess, what I see as deficient in the field, and entire Republican field, including candidates you mentioned, is they're all running from something. And I'm in this race because I want us to run to something.
What is that something?
A vision of what it means to be American. Okay? Revive the ideals of 1776. Revive the truth, meritocracy, excellence, freedom of speech, rule of law. A radical idea. This is not a Democrat or Republican idea, that the people we elect to run the government ought to at least be the ones who actually run the government. That's not the case today. You want to talk about fixing the system. You want to talk about one of the myths where we fall short of our ideals. We're taught in school that we have 3 branches of government. They're irrelevant compared to who actually runs the government. It's a 4th branch of government of 3-letter agencies in Washington, D.C. That is a formula for corruption. Corruption we get. That's a system we need to break down.
Who's those 3?
I mean, you could go down the list. SEC, FDA, EPA.
All right, you guys, thank you for watching. Once again, we will see you on the next one. This is Real Talk Corner. I'm your host, Ariana, the Quantum Healer, and my co-host, Sabrina Williams, in the building. You guys stay safe. Drop us a comment because we want to know what the fuck you think about this ridiculousness shit that we were watching today. Bye.